What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm excited to bring you some Warhammer 40K news. Because for a while, I was waiting on anything to come out lore-wise and rule-wise relating the Adeptus Custodes. Because for a while, we knew that they were going to have a box set paired up with the Gene Stealer cults, and that their new 9th edition codex was going to drop relatively soon. Unfortunately, that got delayed. The codices, at least. The box set you could still order and get it in time for Christmas, but unfortunately we're going to have to wait till January to actually get the 9th edition codices for the Gene Stealer cults and the Adeptus Custodes. But for now, we at least have a little bit of lore and info to look at, and it's really cool because it involves the battle stances that the Custodes can utilize in their new edition. So with that being said, guys, let's jump right in. Of course, all these rules and much more can be found in the link down in the description that takes you to the Warhammer community article that talks about this exact news. But I'm super stoked, so let's go ahead and look at what we have to look forward to for the Custodes. So as we know, the Adeptus Custodes are the golden warriors of the Emperor. They are the elite above the elite, and they are just now going out into the galaxy enforcing the will of the Emperor. These guys are better than the Guard, better than humanity, better than the Marines. Yes, that includes the Primaris Marines as well. And to showcase that, they have some pretty awesome abilities. So in the Shadow Throne Codex box set thingy, they have legendary warriors that can use the ability known as a power stance. This can be used by entire shield hosts that bring centuries of training to bear with violent precision. So Marshal Kata, I believe that's how you pronounce it. After both sides have deployed, but before you have determined who will have the first turn, you will select a primary, secondary, and tertiary Marshal Kata from the list opposite for your army to use in battle. Note this down secretly for your army roster. So right out of the bat, you get 3 abilities to utilize, and your opponent has no idea what they can be. In each of your command phases, so long as one is available, you must select one Kata stance to become active for your army. Each time you do so, units from your army with this ability benefit from it until the start of your next command phase. When selecting a Kata stance to become active, the following rules will apply. You cannot select a Kata stance more than once. You must select a primary Kata stance, and you cannot select a tertiary Kata stance until you have selected a secondary Kata stance. And once you've selected a stance of a different Marshal Kata, you cannot select the stance of the previous Marshal Kata. So basically it's saying you have to go in order, no backseas, and that's just how it is. I'm okay with it. It makes sense. It makes it a lot simpler too. Think of it as an a la carte menu of devastation. You pick 3 Marshal Katas at the start of the battle, each containing 2 stances, and perform those Katas in order. So one of those Katas is none other than Callistus. Callistus is the art of keeping up relentless fire when advancing against the enemy. Your first stance. Each time this unit advances, you roll an additional d6 and discard 1 of the results. That's really big. Because obviously if this is your first stance, you're going to be utilizing it when you're the farthest away from the enemy, and this helps you advance, move up the board, and hopefully get into charge range of your opponent, because that's pretty much where the Adeptus Custodes shine. Stance number 2. Each time this unit makes a normal move or advances in your movement phase, in your following shooting phase, they count as having remained stationary. So this further boosts your advancement to get into those positions where you can do the most damage to your opponent, and since it counts as you having remained stationary, you can charge right after, and that's huge. Now the cool thing about this is that stance 1 and 2 can be done in any order. So say you want to do stance 2 first, and then stance 1, and then you can move on to the final stance. So that leads me to believe that stance 3 could be really big and really powerful, but we'll know once the actual codex drops. And of course, they don't tell us what the third stance is. So let's move on to the next one, and this is Dakatari. These are some weird-ass names, man. Dakatari. This aggressive fighting style has been adopted for the Custodes to deal with hordes of foes who vastly outnumber them. Gene Sealer cults. Orcs. Pretty much any other army. First stance. Each time an enemy unit piles in or consolidates, if it starts that move within engagement range of this unit, you subtract 2 inches from the distance models in that enemy unit can move for that pile in or consolidation move. So really big, because it means that less bodies are going to be in there to cut you down so that you can retaliate more effectively. Stance 2. Each time this unit fights, it can use this ability. If it does so, then until that fight is resolved, you add 1 to the attack characteristics of models in this unit, and you change the damage characteristics of melee weapons that they are equipped with to 1. I don't know about that one. I mean, you get more attacks, but you're only doing 1 damage. Now, as far as I know, at least in previous renditions of this codex, most of the Custodes have like D3 type attacks. So you're kind of reducing the damage by taking away the unknown aspect of it, the probability portion. But in my opinion, it's always better to roll instead of just saying, I'll just take the standard 1. Because I mean, you could roll a 2 or a 3 and do more D3 damage, but I digress. So on here it says that the second stance lets you go on the offensive, allowing you to trade that extra pip of damage that Custodes get for more attacks, which is perfect for clearing out swaths of puny foes. I mean, he does have a point. More attacks would be better than dealing more damage, especially if the little Griblies that you're fighting only have 1 wound. So in effect, you're losing the additional wounds for no reason, so it's best to have more attacks than more wounds, especially if you're fighting like Gretchen, Ripper Swarms, that kind of thing. And lastly, we get to the Taurus. Taurus is optimized to trap enemy units in close combat with the Custodes, where these elite warriors can eliminate them. Stance 1. Each time a melee attack is made against this unit, the hit roll cannot be re-rolled. That's huge, because usually a lot of people like synergy in their lists, and they're going to want to have chaplains that allow them to re-roll hits. So this is basically a big F you to that. Stance 2. Each time an enemy unit, excluding vehicles and monsters, that are within engagement range of any infantry units from your army with this ability, is selected to fall back, you roll off with your opponent, adding 1 to your opponent's roll if that unit can fly. If you win, that enemy unit cannot fall back this turn. So that's pretty big. Especially if you're like trying to play like an objective-based game and your opponent, goes in to attack you and then they want to fall back and claim an objective, you can essentially keep them stuck in, which is where you want to be, so you can go and destroy them the following turn and move on to the objective yourselves. So it's pretty cool. I like these stances. I'm not so keen on the name, Callistus, Dakatari, and Taurus. I don't know. I'll have a lot of time to ponder these abilities and actually see how well they can be. I'm sure they've got other things to make them better in like shooting phase, maybe more tanky when they're actually getting charged to like save some hits and whatnot. But this is exciting news. I recently have been playing Custodes. I say recently loosely because the last time we played 40K was like back in May. So the Custodes is technically a new army for me because I've only had a few games with them under my belt, but I like the direction this is going in, and I can't wait to see what other stances they have for their many types of not troops, but like, what do you call them? Warbands? Groups? I don't know. But we'll see about that in the next one. Again, shield hosts. That's what I was thinking of. Shield hosts. But again, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you like about these Custodes and their different stances? And of course, this is going to be super perfect, especially if you're using the new Blade Champion model that is available in the Shadow Throne box set. But with that being said, guys, this has been the Sound Alchemist, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.